They didn't come with guns this time. They came with books, scissors, and Bibles. They didn't demand land, they demanded children. Hair was cut, tongues silenced, names erased, culture outlawed. Kill the Indian, save the man, they said. But what they really did was kill the spirit. This is not just a story of schools, this is a story of cultural erasure, forced assimilation, and generational survival. As the Indian Wars ended in the late 19th century, the US government shifted strategies. The sword was put away, and the classroom was weaponized. In 1879, a former army officer named Richard Henry Pratt founded the Carlisle Indian Industrial School in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, the first government-run off-reservation native boarding school. His motto, "Kill the Indian in him and save the man." Pratt believed that native culture was a disease, and he would be the cure. Carlisle became the blueprint for over 350 boarding schools that would operate in the US over the next century. Soon, others followed. Haskell Institute in Kansas, Chilocco in Oklahoma, Sherman Institute in California, Phoenix Indian School in Arizona, Chemawa in Oregon. Many were run by Christian churches, Methodist, Presbyterian, Catholic, all funded through federal policy. These schools would steal more than time. They would steal identity. Imagine being 6 years old, taken from your family, sometimes by force, sometimes by threat. You don't speak English. You ride a train for the first time. And when you arrive, they strip you. First, your hair, cut off. For many tribes, this was a sign of mourning, even death. Then your name, replaced with something Anglo, easy to pronounce. Then your clothes, burned, replaced with a uniform. You're told not to speak your language. If you do, you're beaten. You're told your traditions are pagan. If you pray, you're punished. You are taught that your ancestors were savages, that your gods are dead, that your skin is wrong. Children were subject to military drills, strict discipline, and harsh punishments. At Carlisle, the bell dictated every movement. There were reports of students being tied, isolated, or whipped for infractions as small as speaking their native tongue. The education, barely that. Boys learned farming, manual labor, carpentry. Girls learned sewing, cooking, cleaning. They were being trained to serve, not to lead. Many children never returned home. Disease ran rampant. Tuberculosis, influenza, measles, malnutrition and neglect were common. So were suicide and abuse. At the Carlisle School, nearly 200 children died during its operation. Today, their gravestones sit in rows, labeled with names like White Buffalo, Swift Hawk, Little Chief. In Canada, which ran a parallel residential school system, thousands of unmarked graves have been discovered since 2021, many using ground-penetrating radar. In the US, investigations are still unfolding. The silence around these schools was not an accident. The records were poor, the graves unmarked, and the truth buried deep. But Native people resisted in ways big and small. Some families hid their children or sent them far away to avoid enrollment. Some students, though punished, whispered their language under blankets, sang songs in secret, and held on to the stories of their people. Others survived and went on to tell the truth. The boarding schools tried to erase a culture, but in doing so, they lit a fire of resistance that still burns today. In 1978, the US passed the Indian Child Welfare Act, a direct response to the generational damage caused by boarding schools and child removals. By the late 20th century, most boarding schools had closed or transformed into day schools or community-run institutions. Today, Former sites like Stewart Indian School and Carlisle Barracks have become memorials and museums. Communities are working to repatriate remains, revive languages, and restore what was nearly lost. What happened in these schools wasn't just tragic, it was intentional, it was policy, and it was wrong. But the spirit they tried to crush lives on. In every drumbeat, every powwow, every child learning their tribal language again, and every voice, like yours, that listens, learns, and remembers. Subscribe to Native Historian for more stories they never taught you in school. Leave a comment, share your thoughts, or drop a story from your own lineage.